Good day, everybody. My name is BB with Team Breakline, and today we are going to talk about spring fishing. Spring fishing is upon us, and in my own opinion, there's nothing better than spring fishing. Right now, we are in the pre-spawn phase in my area. Now in your area, the fish might be spawning right now, but in my area we're still in the pre-spawn phase. But what I'm going to talk about, spring fishing, and talk about the phases and the baits that I would use during this time. So pre-spawn phase, the female bass, they're looking for food. They're wanting to gorge up before they spawn, just like a woman would do as they were pregnant. They're looking for that food. So one bait that I would go to right off the bat is definitely a jig. I would definitely use a jig. Put some type of trailer on it. You can do a craw trailer. In my area where I fish, crawfish are one of the main food that the bass are looking for, especially in my area, the smallmouth bass. They're definitely looking for the crawfish. So I would definitely use maybe I'd change them out, go with a swim jig like I have here, or maybe even just a football jig and drag it off the ground and look for those quick strikes. Another one, a good search bait, covers a lot of water, puts off a lot of vibration, is a spinnerbait. Definitely, in what I would probably say wise is colors. Search around, look at your water clarity, see what you need to use. Do you have dark, muddy water? Like right now, we have gotten probably at least 9 inches of rain. The rivers are blown out right now, so I'm not fishing too much right now, but that's why we're making this video. But definitely a search bait like a spinnerbait. One thing that I would suggest, try trailer hooks. I think your hookup ratios will go up. You can find those I buy my stuff off of tacklewarehouse.com, but use a trailer hook or use some type of trailer. I use like curly tail grubs, anything that makes that water vibrate and gets those reaction strikes for those fish. Another thing that I like to use, another bait that I like to use is a jerk bait during this time. Yes, we're still in the jerk bait time. Great winter bait to use. This is a Missouri jerk bait. But a jerkbait's one of those baits that, especially right now, that I'm going to go to and I'm going to try it out. Yeah, I like jerkbaits and I like crankbaits. I feel both of them, create those, gets that attention and it makes that sound. This one does have the rattle to it. Right now I want rattles, I want noise, I want anything that can create a disturbance and get those strikes. Now once we've went in the pre-spawn, we go in the spawn. The female bass are now laying their eggs. Some baits that I would like to go with right now is finesse type fishing, something slow. And one of my baits that I really like to use is a Z-Man TRD, and I Ned rig it. This is one of my favorite colors right here with the orange bottom. Definitely like that. Gives that craw. The crawfish that we have in our area have that lighter color belly. And here's some Ned heads. Now, me personally, I have a rule of thumb with when I fish plastics. I always like to hook the bait at least a quarter, if not halfway up into the bait. I feel that my hook ratio is a lot better that way. Now, there's some baits that I understand that it's, impossible to do, like your 10-inch worms or something like that. But for the most part, I definitely like to make sure I use a hook big enough for the bait. If you use a hook that's only hooking straight down on the head, I'm not saying you're not going to catch fish, but you might get some of those short strikes and they're just picking at the tail opposed to actually taking the bait itself. Another bait I like to use is a tube. I love using a tube during the spawning phase. This is a power bait tube. I definitely like using these, especially with smallmouth bass. I feel like this is a smallmouth bass killer. if in doubt, if your Ned rig isn't getting bites, go switch to a tube, and I have a feeling you'll definitely get some strikes. Another one that I like to use is I like to Texas rig craw, and Texas rig it, slowly just drag it on the ground. Take my time with it. I'm using a spinning reel with a medium action rod, and I'm slowly dragging it on the ground and taking my time during the spawning phase. Now, once the bass have spawned, the females have now spawned. They laid their eggs, and now they're searching once again for some food. And me personally, I'd like to go back to the crankbait. I'll use cranks a lot. Some honorable mentions: I would definitely use a chatterbait. Chatterbaits are they've been really popular. This is a Project Z by Z-Man chatterbait. I like the darker blades. I just feel like I've had a better hookup rate, or I've just had more bites on the darker blades. I can't really explain why. I do like to fish some type of craw. I have a Strike King a craw on it right now. This is in the black and blue, and I definitely like that bait. Another bait that I like to fish through all three phases is a Lipless Crankbait. I caught my biggest smallmouth that I've caught on a Lipless Crankbait, and I was fishing the break line in the water in the river, and where the river was flowing, and then there was some slack water. Well, I went over into the eddy, and I started throwing through there, and I hooked up on a 19 1/4 or 19 3/4 inch smallmouth, which is my biggest smallmouth. He had to be at least probably 3 pounds, if not maybe a little bit bigger. Big old belly on it still, but it's a great fish. Another bait that I want to talk about is topwater. This in particular is a 19 Delta Baits in a bone color Whopper Popper. Guys, these catch fish, and we're almost in that time. I say start throwing them, seeing what you can get. I love the Whopper Popper. I also like to fish a buzzbait, and I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to fish topwater during just the regular day as well. I've noticed, especially summer, late or early fall, I'm catching fish all day long on a buzzbait or on a Whopper Popper. So that is something else to consider as well. Don't be afraid to be untraditional. I know a lot of people have said, early morning, dusk. Yes, I completely agree. But don't be afraid to throw it out there. If you're just searching for fish, wanting to see if you can get that reaction strike, definitely go with a topwater bait, like a buzzbait, or like this is a Whopper Popper. It's a great looking bait. Has a nice little red eyes on it. I definitely would suggest you guys go visit 19 Delta Baits. He's a veteran, and he makes he hand paints all these baits himself. Definitely worth the money to take a look at this. Guys, if you have any comments or you have questions, please post them below. Tell me what baits you guys like to fish during the pre-spawn, the spawn, and the post-spawn. Let's share ideas. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe. Guys, my name is BB, and I'm with Team Breakline.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.